Welcome to Cracked Movie Club, the show where we do a book club, but for movies which are like books, but better. I'm your host, Jordan Breeding, the virile, often viral Virginia vodcaster with a voice of velvet, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jesse and Allie. Say hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Jesse, and I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Allie, and my uncle's giant ball of yarn makes me an American. I think I misunderstood the assignment.
Definitely thought you were going to talk about your uncle's big balls for a second, and I was
We were talking
very
about that
worried.
in the warm-up.
We were talking about it before, so it's on the mind.
All right. Yes. Great. Off the rails. On the rails. So we watched a movie called Drop Dead Gorgeous. And Jesse, what the hell is it?
It's a great question. So, Drop Dead Gorgeous. Dark comedy, mockumentary. It's essentially about a small town beauty pageant. It's just a lot of like high school tropes and like small town bumpkin tropes. Everyone's just bumpkin around. And it quickly veers into horror territory. It turns out that there's more or less a town curse that has been like destroying generations of people in this town. And more specifically, in this year's pageant, there are many mysterious deaths that you think you know early on who done it, but maybe you don't.
You done.
Maybe you done it. So why did I watch this movie, Jordan?
So that's funny. You took it a little more seriously than I thought. The generational curses and stuff. That's thrilling.
I think I would classify this as a horror movie, which I didn't see it classified as that in many publications.
I wouldn't consider it that at all. So that's
not at all.
Interesting.
But that's fun. Is the horror because you had to watch so many female leads in the same movie?
Yeah.
Jesse?
I mean, like, I'm
Jesse,
trying my best to have pure thoughts, and this made my week really tough. No, I think that there's an argument to be made that there's an unspoken curse in this town that's not, it's not cursed by a witch. It's cursed by like the American dream, perhaps. But it is
really
as
spicy.
tangible as any horror movie's curse.
Wow, great. Well, that's fun. You asked me why we're watching this movie. It's not because I have an affinity for witch curse America movies, but it's because in 7th or 8th grade, somewhere in middle school, I was homeschooled in middle school, so I had a lot of free time and I was sad. This movie, my parents were watching it, and I walked in about 10 minutes through, and I was laughing so hard that I immediately bought the DVD to watch on my own, and I would watch it over and over. It was like my favorite movie all of 7th and 8th grade. I would always show people. And I wanted to revisit this cherished moment in my childhood and kind of see how it stacked up. So that's why we're watching.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was in Virginia the whole time I was here. It felt like small town Virginia. Just like hallucinating Jordan's parents around my apartment.
Yeah, well, you should be so lucky.
I would say I think I had a similar introduction to this movie in that it was shown to me by a cool person. Do you know what I mean? It was like a person who was like, oh, like you probably haven't heard this movie. It was like kind of a flop, but I have it on DVD. And if you like things that are funny, you've got to watch this. It could be great. It'd be crazy if you didn't know this one. And that's kind of how it was like sold to me. And I really did feel that way while watching it. It felt like slightly forbidden.
Right.
And like
Totally.
very edgy, but also like legitimately very funny. Yeah, and then it was one of those things where, like, throughout time, it would be like, oh, you've never seen Drop Dead Gorgeous? I thought you liked comedy. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But I got to be in the echelon of people who did.
Yeah, so you're a big gatekeeper then.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure,
I got to keep that gate, and I took it seriously.
And you said you had seen it too, Jesse? Is that
Well, that's
previously?
the thing. I recognized a lot of scenes. I thought I hadn't seen it, but it seems like it's definitely something that kind of made the rounds on HBO or something over the years.
It didn't, but that's a good thought. It only came on a streaming apparently in like 2019. I don't know if you've noticed that there were like a ton of articles about it.
Yeah,
They're
so
like,
it's finally here. It's back. The Holy Grail.
And now it's gone again.
And now it's gone again.
So I want to start with our first question because we're a book club for movies, and so we do questions according to what the internet says that book clubs do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to talk about the humor and whether it holds up, and basically just, it came out in 1999. Things were different. We hadn't been besieged by Y2K or 9/11 yet.
Double whammy. That was a tough couple of years.
Yeah, it's just we had no power, all of our computers failed, and then terrorism. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, I want your opinions on, first, did you laugh? Like, did you think it was funny? And then also, did you feel bad about it?
I mean, yes and yes. Like, there are definitely some movies where the very premise of the movie no longer holds up, and this is not one of them. Do you know what I'm saying? There are definitely parts of the movie that do not hold up. There are full characters in the movie that do not hold up and should be cut. There are words in the movie that shouldn't be said any longer. Do you know what I mean? But like, it's
what are some of those, Allie?
I'm not gonna say them out loud. I guess we can get into it as we like talk more about the plot of the movie. But like, a dark comedy mockumentary that's like meant to poke fun at small town life as well as like the misogyny involved that like makes teen girls obsessed with winning and obsessed with beauty and obsessed with like pageants, and the like sad desperation of a girl like putting together a tap routine in the hopes that it'll get her out of her small town. Like that holds up to me. And so like that does not feel in any way, shape, or form like it is like inherently punching down in an unfixable way. Do you know what I'm saying? It's tough. You guys, when we record, I can't go pee, and I have to pee like every 10 minutes. That's like just like one of my sad things about my life. And so like I can't have coffee before we record. Just a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Just bring a jug, man. I have coffee and a jug.
I like you both very much, but I don't think we're there yet.
That's fair. You could mute, but I get it.
But yeah, so that's why I think like the movie is still a movie people love, and like that's why people aren't like, do you know what movie I like? Please don't tell anybody I said this. Drop Dead Gorgeous. Do you know what I mean? It's not like so tainted by the way the worlds have changed that it is like you can't even talk about the movie. It's an embarrassment. It's a black mark on society. There are just like, you know, if we were gonna remake it, there'd be some changes.
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of the most problematic stuff is very superficial, very cosmetic almost. It's like you could, if you were going to remake it today, or if they were going to do like a table read and get everybody back into reprisal roles, you could just edit some of the real bad words out or make like slightly different jokes. But you're right, the themes are still great. Like the performances are great. There's some killer slapstick, truly a slapstick masterpiece for the ages.
Truly.
Yeah, the bad stuff is certainly bad. There's no arguing that, but it's not deep seated.
Yeah.
And the character that is the most offensive character, that is like very obviously the most offensive character, has no real bearing on the plot. Like if you wanted to, you could go into this movie and literally cut around the character and re-put the movie out, and like nothing would change.
And let's just say what that character is. There's a mentally handicapped character who it only exists to be like, look how funny this mentally handicapped guy is.
To roll around on the ground or grope people inappropriately. And they're all so mean to him. It's like, it's so sad.
Yeah. I was really hoping in his first couple of appearances, I was hoping like, oh, maybe he's just like he's like a drug-addled, like, bumpkin or whatever, because one of his first appearances, he's got like a bag and some spray paint to huff. So I was like, please don't be going where I think you're going. Please just make this like a funny, wacky guy. And no, they are pretty explicit about why he is a joke.
Explicit is almost an understatement.
I feel like the thing that I like about his character, besides that, I think really this is just indicative of one of the things that I think is great about this movie, which is there are so many jokes packed in that are so subtle that I didn't even get them the first time. Like, the thing about him that's interesting is, so he asks if they're on cops, and then at some point, it's revealed that he's been released from jail, and then at some point it's revealed that his babysitter is dead.
Yeah.
There's this whole, it takes the whole movie, but you're like, oh my God, this guy murdered his babysitter. It's just like such a horrible,
honestly, one of the funniest running things in the whole movie is the fact that everybody in the town, when they see a film crew, immediately asks if they're on cops.
Right. Yeah.
And then we later find out that the actual film crews of this crew and the cops crew are friends. They're like, oh, hey, what's up, dude? Hey, Bryan. Like, they actually do know each other.
Yeah, I think that also maybe helps explain. So they give the thing at the beginning. So it's this Sarah Rose Cosmetics beauty pageant, and this film crew is here because it's the 50th anniversary of this thing, and they just want to document it. But of all the places to start your documentary, why would you start in this 5,000 person population city in Minnesota? Like, it's so inexplicable. But if they know the cops guys. And the cops guys are always in Minnesota, and they're like, guys, it's nuts there. People are dying. People are getting murdered. And to your point, Jesse, about the generational curse, like there are lots of crazy things that have been happening for years at this pageant. And so I actually think it's sort of, there's this whole background world to all this stuff that I just think is really fascinating. Like, why would they be there? And then the Sarah Rose Cosmetics, spoiler, they go out of business at some point, but they don't tell anybody.
Well, I think they got raided by the IRS right before the national competition.
Yes. Yeah. And I couldn't tell if when they got raided by the IRS, if that was an unfortunate coincidence or if it was also the work of the person who, spoiler alert, is sabotaging the competition.
Oh.
If she called in a favor and had that
I have
done.
a feeling that family's influence doesn't extend outside of that town or maybe the county.
That's
but
probably
it's possible.
True.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But yeah, even in the very beginning of the movie, like literally the first part of the movie, it is a cameo from Adam West, like introducing this video of like, you should also apply to be part of this beauty pageant. But because they live in such a small town. Sorry, go ahead.
The video starts out very porny also. Like right off the bat, you know that this is not a healthy competition. It's like that like 70s porno guitar riff kind of stuff and the deep voice announcing it. And it's like, this is designed to ruin women.
Exactly. Yeah. It is primed to ruin these girls who are like 16, 17 at best. But they live in such a small town that they don't even have Adam West say the name of the town. He's like being like, girls from all over the country, from Sacramento, California to, and then in a robot voice it goes, Mount Rose, Minnesota.
Yeah.
I freaking love that.
It's such a good joke right off the bat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can I just say about the like IRS rating it at just this moment? I think that might be the curse manifesting itself. The curse followed, who's Kirsten Dunst? What's her name?
Amber.
It followed Amber to regionals, and the regional competition got all messed up. Then it followed her to nationals also. So I think it's like just a tinge of this curse.
Huh. I think you're the only person in the world who thinks there's a curse. But I
after
respect
this podcast comes out, there's going to be a lot more of us.
I do respect it.
I do think, generally speaking, it's just two generations of shitty people. I think all the other people that were cursed by it, except for maybe the girl with anorexia, who, again, another character that's a little tough, is... So, like, it sounds like Amber's mom was competing the same-ish year and time as Kirstie Alley's character, who is the mom of Denise Richards.
Correct.
So, like, some of the issues that happened in the past, it just may be this horrible family forever, because she's also been in charge of it for like 15 years or whatever.
Yeah. But if you look at everybody that's ever won or even competed has except for Diane Sawyer. Right. Diane Sawyer made it, but I don't think Diane Sawyer is from their town. I think she's from a different town. But everybody else who's either competed, if they've competed and they're still around, they just have miserable lives. Like Amber's mom literally says she sacrificed her entire life. There's the librarian lady.
Right. I was just going to say the librarian lady and the one that works at the pork factory.
Yes, the pork factory. Like, that's the best case scenario for a winner is working at a pork.
The saddest. I mean, like, in a movie full of sad things, this woman being like, I won and I wanted to be an actress, so I'm doing this ad for this pork company at which I work.
And I work here now.
That's the saddest. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, that's why this movie is really good, because like, obviously that is very sad, but like, and funny. The punching down, so to speak, isn't on this one woman in particular. We're not like meant to cackle at her misfortune and be like, yeah, fuck her.
Right. Yeah.
But it is about like how when these women are young and youthful and like the ideal of beauty, we reward them. But that like, as they get older, it's not like we continue to support and reward their journey. We're just sort of like, hey, fuck you. You can do local commercials for a pork company and you can also work in their factory line.
With blood all over your apron.
And that's why I think like the movie ultimately like does continue to succeed and like is still like a quote unquote cult classic, is because like the point is, this is like the deification of women with none of the support.
Right.
And it's all about just like capturing these women at their best and absolutely wringing them dry and not caring about what happens to them ever again.
Just absorbing their youthful energy and nothing, and then leaving them just dry husks to like float around this town.
I would argue that other than the mentally handicapped character, there's really not any other characterization that I would take. And even if you might say the Japanese parents, because they're pretty questionable as well. But I think one of the interesting things, so, if you haven't seen the movie yet, basically there's a character who is a white girl who's been adopted by Japanese parents that just love America so much, they are ignoring their gorgeous Japanese, like natural biological daughter, to just get this kind of goofy looking white girl who speaks English and stuff. But they are like corrupted by this town. Like they're trying to do country western stuff. Even their room is painted with like these like western sunsets and stuff. And so I almost feel like, when they're saying offensive things or being portrayed offensively, it's almost like they're taking on the crap of the town. They're just like consumed by it.
Yeah, you can't call it like a nuanced portrait of an Asian American family. However, it is definitely a critique of the ways in which we expect immigrants to assimilate to small town American life.
Yeah,
totally.
Not a critique of the people who come to America.
Right.
It's like, well, you want to fit in this tiny town. You better be like the most exemplary version of this tiny town. There's no way to be exceptional except to be the best version of what I want. And so, it's like super funny that they find this like moderately talented, moderately attractive young white woman and are like, we are you. We pin your hopes on you. You are everything to us.
Right.
And then it's also funny that in the competition, when they all are asked to introduce themselves, she introduces herself as a proud Asian American, even though that's so funny.
I missed the part where she had like Japanese parents, and so I couldn't over my first watch, so I didn't know why she announced herself as a proud Asian American. I was like, well, all right, that's another level I missed.
Yeah, I feel like that's another example of just like a joke that takes a while to come back. Like another one that happens in that. So the girl that loves dogs, she early on is like, I used to have a German Shepherd, but like it bit me, and they had to remake my stomach with skin from my butt or whatever. But she specifically says that it was a German Shepherd, and then when her talent is doing dog growls, and at the end she gets to a German Shepherd, and she's like, like gives it the meanest, like most like aggressive voice ever, and it cracks me up because I just feel like they keep setting up little stupid gags. Another one is really early on before we meet the anorexic woman. We see a shot of a sign at a hospital, and it says "burn unit, eating disorders," and
which is so funny to begin with. But then it pays off.
Well, your brain doesn't even register that it says eating disorders necessarily, because that's not a thing that's at hospitals. And then it cuts to eating disorders. And then later a character gets burned and you see the exact same sign. It's like, those are the two main things that happen at this crazy town hospital because people are being destroyed by this pageant. They're getting burned and they're getting eating disorders. It's just...
And not only that, there's the eating disorders like ward or wing, but then there's specifically the anorexia ward.
Right.
So sad. Again, like I do understand that like the portrayal of the girl who is suffering with this like debilitating eating disorder is like not necessarily a nice joke or portrayal, but like I always feel like the jokes avoid making young women the culprits of said jokes. Like it is so very obviously the product of her surroundings, and we like are meant to feel sad and scared for her, especially when they like force her to parade around again at the ceremony, or like the last year's winner has to come do her talent again, and like she probably did this as a dance routine last time. She sang and danced, and now she's being pushed around in a wheelchair because she's so weak she can't even like walk or raise her arms. And it's like it's so sad and it's so disgusting that that's like what they expect of her, but it's not because she's disgusting. It's because like that is what is expected of you when you are last year's winner. And so like how dare anybody ever do not that?
Right.
It's very funny and very sad.
Also, the visual of the nurse kind of jogging at the end to kind of get like the finale move for her, where the nurse who's pushing her kind of like speeds up a little bit. It's just so sad. It's so weird visually. I still had a lot of fun. I will just go ahead and say that other than all the hard R words, I was here for it, man. I was still having a lot of fun with it. It's also, I mean, I realize it's very nostalgic and I know all the lines. But there's just so many little things. Again, like very near the end of the movie, she gets a pamphlet from the Sarah Rose Cosmetics about like what she can expect in the regionals. And I never noticed this before because I wasn't looking, but in the background, the mailman is tucking his shirt back in. And the mom's friend like rubs his face a little bit, and then he walks away.
Oh, that's so funny. It's her aunt, right? It's
the Allison Janney character.
Yeah.
Who's just trying to sleep with absolutely every man,
and she succeeds a lot.
Yes,
yeah. Because then she's like trying to get the camera crew like several times throughout the movie, and then one time instead of like trying to be flirtatious and sexy, she just sort of like nods and winks at them. So like they definitely finally did it.
Right.
I love it.
And then, like, when they're all throwing up at the end, she's like, "Oh God, do you think they heard us?" Did you catch that? She comes out of a hotel room with a bartender guy, and they're like tucking their clothes in, and she's like, "Oh God, you think they heard us?" And it's just people everywhere just vomiting
off the sides of like balconies, puke spewing 20 feet below. It's so funny. I mean, it's just like the movie really succeeds because it pushes into those corners so unapologetically. Like, for example, there is a member of the town who is also a judge of the competition who is like fully, absolutely a pedophile. Like, it's not it's not like gently like maybe, I don't know. It's like straight up like this guy continues to fund this and make sure that it happens every year because it's like for his gratification.
Right.
Not because it's like a scholarship for the girls. We're so proud of them. It's because it's like a bunch of girls who have to wear bikinis. And then, here comes Amy Adams and she's going to do a slutty routine. And it's like, oh, good. We all got what we wanted. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think that is part of why the movie is successful is because it's like, it's just outright saying everything that it wants to say. It's not like tap dancing around it, like kind of politely and hoping you'll infer what they mean. It's just like, no, it's disgusting. It's gross. It's all the things you think it is. I just think, and like so many good one-liners, like when you were saying about being, nostalgic for the one-liners, I feel like this movie has things that have become sort of like iconically.
Best one-liner, go.
For me, it's lights, camera, and me without a stitch of makeup on.
Mine is Swan ate my baby.
I'm really hung up on the when the mentally challenged just bully kid is stuck in the car toward the end and he's asking for help, and then in the world of the documentary there's like a tag that comes up that says like, as documentary filmmakers, we have to be impartial. Like, we cannot interfere with our subjects. It's just such a good...
He's yelling, help, Hank, help, Hank, help. And then he's like waving at the camera and he goes, hello. And then, of course, because everything pays off, there's a shot later on of just the pants.
Oh my
because
God.
Just hanging from
he took his pants off and ran away at some point.
It's really great. And just like all of their talents are so stupid.
Yeah.
And like, I find that the portrayal of the teenage girls are like extremely loving, despite absolutely making fun of them. I think Brittany Murphy gives like one of the most memorable, weird performances of a teenage girl ever.
She's incredible. I was just going to say we should talk about some of these performers because amazing in some cases.
They're just like caricatures of these like different sort of tropes, or even just like, the people that that you grew up with, but like without feeling like it's like vaudeville, like over the top. It's just such high energy pointed in just the perfect direction.
Yeah, they're all so different and they're all bizarre. But they're like bizarre in a way that I like really, really believe. And like I feel like the performers were encouraged to just sort of bring whatever unhinged energy they were feeling. Like, I love that Brittany Murphy's character kind of screams all of her lines for no reason. Like, her volume is just exaggerated.
Yeah. I love
it. Actually, that's another one of my very favorite. If I had to pick like a one-liner, I do love at the end when she's like, "Peter's gay, Dad. He's gay." I love it.
Well,
so
she
much.
says, he's like, Peter never would have pulled a stunt like this. And she goes, yeah, well, Peter's gay. And it's just funny because
she idolizes him so much. It's so good.
That's what I love about that is it's like sort of a gay joke, you think, but it's only to get at her conservative parents.
Yeah, she loves him. She's going to move. Yeah. She's going to run away to New York literally as soon as like she's humanly possible, and she's going to go like be the talent manager for her gay brother who does drag as Liza Minnelli. Like I would watch a spinoff of that immediately.
Did she have like a sort of like end of movie recap moment? You know how they did that at the end, where it's like this person.
I don't think like she did.
I don't.
Amy Adams' character was like, they were like, where she went off to the Philippines or something like that, and hasn't been seen in 2 years.
Oh my God,
if you've seen her, call this number.
So sad. I think she only got a wrap up though because she was second runner up. Yeah. I think the other girls sort of fade into the background of the documentary.
The one girl got deaf. That was nice.
And they're all so happy for her.
Yeah, I know. They're all like, "Oh my God, that's so great."
Again, like it's those jokes that like just teeter on potentially being like off color, but like it's the way that people react to it that contextualizes it. Like, and they're all so happy for her. So like, what are you supposed to do? Not be happy for her? Like, we're happy for her.
And that's what's great is, okay, so just talking about the performances, I think what you're saying is exactly right. Like the performances really sell it because even that moment, the joke is, wouldn't that be funny if she became deaf, which is all she wanted, and everybody's really happy for it. But right before they cut, Brittany Murphy's face kind of falls into like, but that's a little weird, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like they're all like, oh my God, that's so happy. And she's like, is it? And then it cuts. And there's a lot of scenes where they'll do that, where they'll awkwardly hold on a facial expression, and then one character will just change it a little bit. When they say, they're like, Denise Richards' dad, whatever her character, Becky's dad is like, yeah, she's just as good at dancing as Sammy Davis Jr., you know, the Jewish fella. And she's like, nice, Dad, he's dead. And they all just kind of look at the camera. And then he kind of shrugs like, I mean, whatever. It's just like, he looks like he's embarrassed for a second. Then he's like, why would I be? And there's even that line in there, too, where he's like, how quickly we all forget where this comes from. And Becky's like, yeah, Taiwan. And he's like, all right, shut up.
And then it comes back that like she dies on the Swan because the Swan was built in Mexico, I guess.
Right.
So like that's like a running joke that he just cheaps out and buys foreign, and it ruins his family.
And then the pastor says, I think it's just God's way of telling us to buy American. And everybody solemnly is like,
yes. Mm-hmm. And Buy American was, of course, the theme for the pageant.
Oh, right.
From sometime in the past 3 years. The past 3 years were proud to be an American, buy American, and USA is A-OK. Right. Those were the last 3 years.
American.
American. So good.
I thought
funny.
that has held up so well. Like that's something I think growing up, I didn't realize was like sort of held true. There was a group like small town conservatives who like love God and love America and think that like the feminists are like, you know, fueled by Satan and that sort of thing. And that's like a character that's like a caricature that's come up a lot in the, you know, in real life lately, that like this really, I think, shined a spotlight on that, on just the hypocrisy of certain, you know, certain outlooks on life.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean 20 years later, really, really well.
And even just that, like, the whole point of, like, pageants in general. And I'm sure that there are people who could defend pageants in another way. And I'm not trying to say, like, there's no such thing as a good one. But at least in the world of this movie, you know, the pageant is meant to exemplify, like, the perfect all-American girl. But, of course, a perfect all-American girl has, like, nice legs, good tits, and a moderately show-offy talent that isn't too extreme, but can also be demonstrated to an audience. Do you know what I mean? Like, her talent isn't going to be like, I'm great at calculus. It's like, no, you're going to tap dance in a hat. You're going to tap dance in a hat or fuck you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it isn't really uplifting exceptional American girls. It's just like what we would like the exceptional American girl to be. Again, like, I'm sure there's some version of a pageant out there that has escaped these terrible sort of confines. So I believe it exists, but it certainly doesn't exist in like this movie.
Yeah. There's a whole scene where Becky is saying something to the effect of America is great. America is super great. We're going to keep it great kind of thing, which so weirdly, obviously mirrors what we're saying now. It's like, oh, they called it. Also, there's a scene where she's loading that rifle right after the boyfriend gets shot or the cute guy gets shot. And in the background is just a little family having a picnic. And she's
God, yes.
She's like 6 feet away loading this huge gun with like bullets everywhere. They just did a really good job of like, what if we crammed one more joke into the frame? Can we do that?
Yes.
I really appreciated that.
Beyond like cramming little jokes into the frame, they're also so great at like making like logos and things that like are just bizarre enough to be funny, but like very believable. Like it's the like, I can't remember the exact name. It's like the St. Ignatius Gun Club. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
it's
sister.
Like, it's both religious and
Lutheran Sisterhood Gun Club.
Exactly. And like their logo is like a cross, but one of like the crosses of the cross is like a rifle.
Yeah.
That's like so insane and so fucked up. But it also like is 100% like a called shot for where we are right now, where like somehow liking Jesus and guns has kind of gone hand in hand now.
Right.
Even though he wasn't alive when guns were alive.
Right. That's another one of those jokes where, Tammy, the girl who gets exploded by the thresher at the beginning, she becomes the president of the Lutheran Sisterhood Gun Club, but then she dies, and then Becky is announced as the new president of the gun club or whatever in the pageant. And also one other joke on Tammy is, they said that they thought she was smoking and driving, and that's what caused her thresher to explode. Yeah. And Amber is like, no. She only smoked after a good drive because she said that the heavy vibrations helped her think.
I was like,
that.
Oh, so she's masturbating on the thresher and then getting a nice smoke after.
It's
just
funny.
a really subtle, stupid line.
And that like, first of all, her last line, she refers to her hero as Anthony Robbins instead of Tony Robbins. Obsessed. So funny. And it's so funny that like Amber as our hero, we love her because she's like hardworking and she's talented and we want her to succeed. But it's also like for moments like that like she's still so innocent. And we're like, aw. Yeah. I love you. I want you to be okay.
Right. She doesn't eat the shellfish at the end because Mama said to never eat anything that carries its home on its back.
Great.
Because you never know the last time it's been cleaned.
Which is again very funny, and especially funny for people who live in a trailer home that can move and literally be a little home on your back.
Yeah. All right, so here's one of my other ones. I mean, I think we've basically danced around this, but I think one of the most interesting things around the discourse of this is the movie came out, it flopped, it got terrible reviews, people saying that it was just unfunny and offensive, which is funny, again, to me, because this is 1999 when these things would have flown a lot more. But now, as we were talking about this offline, but it came on to Hulu streaming in 2019, and we got op-eds in The Guardian, New Yorker, all over the place talking about how this is like their favorite movie. One of the best movies of all time. People are buying it on every platform. Like they bought 6 DVDs of it because they just can't get enough of it. I mean, I know we've hinted at why that might be, but can you think of anything else to say? Like, why does it have this lasting appeal for some people?
I think part of the reason for like the good reviews, 15 years later or whatever, is that like suddenly the half of the cast that wasn't already famous is very famous. Right. It's like when you're like an acquaintance from high school blows up and then
blows up on a thrasher.
Oh, I was like really good. Yeah,
a thresher.
Literally blow up on a thresher.
A thrasher.
But it's like suddenly like, yeah, sure, the New York Times is going to want to be like, oh yeah, no, we loved Amy Adams in her first ever film appearance. Like we knew she was cool before she was cool. I think that has to do with some of the reviews.
She does yell "Bring it on" 2 or 3 times, which I thought was very funny. I don't think the movie was out yet, but she's about to fight with Becky and she goes, "Bring it on." And I was like, ooh, freeze frame coming to theaters 2001.
It's true. This did come out before then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the things that was written, I think you alluded to this, Allie, as well. It's a borderline all-female cast, except for a couple of random offensive. There are not really any positive male characters, except for maybe the driver of the hearse or the owner of the funeral home, like drives her in the hearse to the regionals. So that's nice.
Oh yeah, that is nice.
Oh yeah.
And then I guess, the would-be boyfriend who's immediately killed. And there's just really not a lot of, unless I'm like missing somebody, there's really not any or very many positive male characters. So it's like a female cast, basically. And they were saying that Allie, you should speak to this more than I should probably, but they were saying that it portrays this kind of like female youth in America more honestly. Like,
oh, for sure.
It is kind of dirty and gross and offensive and stuff. And so they just leaned into all that.
Yeah, no, I think that like it's still, what is still funny is still very funny. There are parts of it that are no longer very funny, but like what works totally still works. And that's definitely a reason why people, who saw it 11 years ago were like, oh, hell yeah, it's on Hulu. I'm going to show it to my friends and family. Because like it's still funny. But also like I think when it first came out, it just like no one really totally understood that it was like a critique of what it was portraying and not like a sincere portrayal or like the auteur's like, desire to see all these things play out on screen so much as it is like a dark comedy. Whereas like that is almost all comedies, I feel like right now. Almost everything is some semblance of like a social critique wrapped in a comedy, or like, using a bizarre cast to, be the entry point into a small subsection of life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of like, it feels kind of Christopher Guesty, not necessarily in tone, but in like, we're choosing to find a weird subsect of American people. And through those people, I'm going to critique a bunch of different things.
Sure.
From, relationship dynamics to how we live in America to, blah, 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 blah. And so like, I think the movie definitely has like staying power and always will, just because like it is like weirdly feminist in its own way. And like, I think like we didn't even talk about films like that. Like, and now like everything is like, well, is the film very feminist or is it not very feminist? You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like, this one already answered the question for you.
Yeah.
I think also like it came out the same year as a lot of other just like teen rom-com kind of things, like American Pie, same year. 10 Things I Hate About You. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of these movies that American Pie more so, but like lean into the misogyny and like make a joke of feminism that people didn't realize. And I guess people at the time were eating that up, and they didn't realize that this is a critique, or they didn't either see it or appreciate it as a critique. And so they were just like, well, this isn't funny. This makes me feel bad about liking Stifler.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, like, it also has weirdly succeeded, like you were saying about like seeing people become famous. It has like sort of become fun in like in a meta way that like Kirsten Dunst is still famous and we still like treat her like America's sweetheart. But also Denise Richards became a reality TV star when she was on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And so like she actually did become like a talk to the camera, break the fourth wall figure in our lives. Do you know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of fun also. I mean, also like not any shade to her as an actress because she's amazing, but like this Allison Janney character is just the Allison Janney character that she won an Oscar for in I, Tonya.
Totally.
Nicer, obviously, and like way more sympathetic and like funny. But like, it's this weird like meta thing of like, she probably was too young to play the character of this character when she actually was filming it. And then she like was the right age for that character when she won the Oscar in I, Tonya.
Yeah.
It's so, I don't know. It's like, it all feels like it like came true in a weird meta way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean like, so there are two or three people, Brittany Murphy, Amy Adams, maybe there's one more, that feel like they just went on to play that character over and over. And this is one of, if not the first iterations of that particular.
Well, I feel like Amy Adams really has transitioned into one of, I mean, she's like in Arrival and stuff. She's like a very,
That's true.
I mean, serious actress now in a lot of ways. She's in like Nocturnal Animals.
Oh
and
yeah,
all these,
no.
like,
Every year it's like, is this the year that Amy Adams wins an Oscar? And the answer is no, which is unfortunate. She deserves it, but yeah, no. She's gone from like slutty head cheerleader to Oscar contender, multi-time Oscar contender.
And I feel like that's the thing. Again, she is the slutty cheerleader, but the way that she does it, she keeps like her mouth keeps breaking. Like there's not the kind of confidence that you would expect from like a pure slutty teenager. It's almost or cheerleader, I guess. It's that she has like so much confidence in her boyfriend, inexplicably, who likes her so much.
They love each other. That makes it so fun.
Yeah.
And it's like he's so yelling for her all the time. And she, the first thing that she says in her interview is like, "Hey, Pat, I love you, Pat." And then it's all just twisted right at the end where she's like, I got second runner up. And he goes, third. You got third. Even though he was so excited like 5 minutes ago. I just love that one moment he's like, "You idiot, it's third."
Yeah. That was so surprising because he seemed like legit, like supportive. Like there's something about that actor's face. Do we know who that guy is?
I don't think so.
I didn't even look him up.
Something about his face was just so like, yeah, he's like not even quite just like a dumb jock kind of thing. Like he's just like a good boyfriend until his like final appearance when I think he's even giving her the finger when he's like, "It's third."
Oh, geez.
I think he's just showing her the 3, but yeah.
Okay.
And that's the other thing is that whole performance, the whole talent show at the end. I love that the mom is basically us. She's like hopped up on pain meds and she thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. And she's just cracking up at every performance. She's like pointing at the stage and just passing out laughing. And it is fun to have a character in a comedy who knows that it's a comedy.
Yes.
Like everybody plays it straight and the rest of the town is mostly like, whatever, we're here for a pageant. But to have one character who's on drugs and is having a higher plane of existence.
Yeah, she's ascended.
Well, it's like Denise Richards' character is pretty like obviously disliked by people in town. They think like nobody like wants her to win. They think she's going to get it just because not because she deserves it. They're all rooting for Amber. And also she does like, again, one of the funniest fucking things in the movie is her talent is a song and a dance. And she sings Can't Take My Eyes Off of You really badly. And then dances a like tango / waltz with a puppet of Jesus on a cross where it's like Velcro.
Yeah, like a full size.
So funny. It's just like she's wheeling it around, but its arms can detach. So sometimes she can like tango with it and it can like hug her in a sexual way. And so when you look at the audience, they're fucking hating it. Like that's really fun is that like you look out in the crowd and they're like, "What the fuck? I hate this." And then it cuts to Amber's mom like just cracking up. So it's like you really get both. You get like the full gamut of emotions.
Yeah.
Now, what's super interesting too is again, 10 Things I Hate About You came out that year, and that has Heath Ledger singing "Can't Take My Eyes Off You," but in a performance that's like lauded to this day. And at the time too, according to reviews, yeah, right? Am I wrong?
No, I think you are right. It's just so weird that like, isn't it weird like when a song suddenly is like, "We like this one again"? It's like now, and it's like, yeah, now we like this one again.
Yeah, right. But I mean, audiences hated that at the time. Like the same way the audience in movie hated that she was sort of blaspheming accidentally. Like real American audiences thought that they were like making a mockery of like teen romps.
Yeah.
And that scene was held up as like one of the worst parts of the movie, even though it's the best.
Yeah.
That's
I
funny.
feel like we are dancing around a major plot point in this movie that we have like not talked about.
Talk about it.
That the people who are dying in this town are not dying accidentally because their thrasher blew up, but because Denise Richards' mom, as played by Kirstie Alley, a former winner of this pageant, is like one by one going through and murdering the girls so that there's less competition for her daughter to win.
Right.
That's funny. I mean, like, it wouldn't be funny in real life, but it's really funny in the world of this movie that, like, this pageant is so important that, like, murder isn't even, like, a second thought. It's like, of course I'll kill people so that my daughter can win.
Yeah, and there's a point to, like, it feels like she's not wrong. Like, this is the only way any of them are getting out of here. Because as they mentioned, there's hockey scholarships, there's prison.
And there's prison.
And there's this stupid pageant. And theoretically, if you can get out, you can make it. And so that's why Amber really, really cares. That's why, although it's funny with Denise Richards, because it's like, she's already rich, so what does she care? But it is interesting that that's their only way out, even though I assume college was invented in the 90s, but maybe not.
I mean, I think that's also why, like, as like a protagonist, Amber's such a great, they like chose such a great weirdo for us to like pin our hopes and dreams on, because she's not super talented. Like her number in the talent show in Mount Rose is by far and away the best. Everybody can agree. She does a tap dance and it's really fun. And then she gets to like regionals or whatever the next level up is. And everybody's better than she is. And she's like sitting in the audience so dejected, being like, should I just go home now? Like this, like I am not special, which is so sad. But you love her and
I
want
love
her to succeed.
Yeah, and I love that ultimately she succeeds because she inexplicably decides to take the mic from a dying woman.
Oh my God.
So like she always wants to be a reporter, and Kirstie Alley escapes prison and takes a sniper rifle to the town and tries to kill Amber, who for some reason goes to where she is at this like chicken shack or whatever. And Kirstie Alley shoots the reporter. And then for some reason, Amber doesn't look at the reporter at all. She picks up the mic and starts reporting. And then she like,
because she's just got that journalistic instinct.
Yeah, even
man.
in the final text, it's like people admired her cool composure under fire.
yeah. And it's like, she ends up taking that woman's job. Like they don't make a new position for her. They say that she took her slot. The woman who just like freaking got shot.
Like died on television.
Well, and died because they were trying to kill Amber.
Yeah.
Like the woman would have even been there except that they were trying to kill Amber. Anyway, it's just such a dark, at the end, it's like, I don't know, she made it because how does anyone make it? I don't know. They just sometimes
they very much like
luck into it.
I feel like they got to the end. We're just like, okay, we got to get out of here. Okay, she got out of prison. She shot up everybody, and she got her dream job. Did you guys hear what the alternate ending, the original ending was?
No.
So the original ending was that Kirstie Alley hangs herself in jail.
Oh my God.
But then the librarian goes on a shooting spree for some fucking reason. Don't really know why. But they said test audiences are just like, what? Why?
Yeah, I guess I don't totally understand the like character.
Yeah, I don't either.
That.
We don't know anything except that she won in 1945 and she knows the best way to prepare cod.
Yeah.
Lutefisk.
It's best with lots of butter.
It's just like, it is really fun watching Kirstie Alley like devolve into madness, starting when the swan blows up and like going through her admitting gleefully to have killed everybody on live TV, and then her like getting cozy with like the best prison gangs who like it's just really fun watching like a woman on the edge. Like it's, I guess I think also part of the reason why this movie continues to have success is that like it is really fun to watch women on the edge. Like that's just like a fun genre of movie. And this movie like excels in that.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's a really interesting thing to mention, if only because I think this movie succeeds. Veep is another show that I think does this really well, but I think there are certain actresses that can succeed in comedy by embracing femininity and being like doing things. It's not so like there are obviously some female comics who are just like a gross dude, but like they are a woman or whatever.
Totally. And that's very much like a sitcom trope too of like, she's just one of the guys. She just happens to have the best pair of tits you've ever seen. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, and she'll like play into some of that. But like in Veep, I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus does such a good job of, she'll be like cussing out a dude and then immediately start crying or something.
Yes.
When she's realizing that tactic isn't working, she'll slip into this other thing. And it's so funny. And it's not something you could just like plug Jerry Seinfeld in to do that part and it would make any sense at all, because it would be like, why is the dude crying? Like it wouldn't track. And I think this movie does such a good job. Like Brittany Murphy, Amy Adams, Amber Atkins, they're all so funny in these very feminine ways, I guess. It's really interesting. It is a gross, like tons of gross humor in the movie, but they still do a good job of it being funny women being women, as opposed to like, we're going to be just as gross as American Pie, but we're all having sex with a different food item that's more, that works with women or something.
Yeah.
Physiologically.
I think that makes a lot of sense because the writer of the screenplay was a pageant contestant for like her, like at least her young adulthood. I don't know how high up she made it, but she learned to navigate these like horribly misogynist corn mazes with like using her femininity in, to her strength. So it makes sense that all these characters are really good at that.
I love the misogynist corn maze.
Yeah, misogynist corn maze. That could be one of the titles that we'll get to.
Ooh.
She was also the judge. The female judge was the scriptwriter or the screenplay writer.
Yes, and they're fun too. Like what fun, like, again, they're not like particularly attractive or like complimentary portrayals of a woman, but it is like a woman we know. And so it's fun that like a woman got to write it and play the role and get to like make fun of this kind of woman. Do you know what I mean? It just like kind of feels different when like all of the puzzle pieces connect because like they were meant to, and not because like some random woman got hired to say these lines that were created by somebody who hates women. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can feel the hand. What is it called? Like they call it like the invisible hand of the market or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like you can,
I don't know about the market.
I think it's a corn maze of the market.
Misogyny of the market. Like, but they're like, you know, you just feel the intention behind all of it. And like, I love that they're like boozy dropout ladies whose like best thing they'll ever do is run this pageant. And so it has become their life and their lifeblood, but they still can't stay sober during the proceedings of the most important part of their lives. I love that. That's so stupid.
Yeah. All right. We're getting close to the mark. So anything that we missed, any lines, anything you wanted to mention, anything that pops out?
I like a couple of stories that the actors of them just like having to live with the legacy of this movie. Generally pretty good stuff, but it was like Allison Janney said that she like people will approach her more about this movie than about like The West Wing or anything else. She once overheard a group of like teen girls like quoting her character, not realizing they were like sitting right next to her. The other one is the guy that played the pedophile judge. He was like in an interview, he was like, 6 times in my life, somebody's run up to me and said, "Hey, you're the pedophile." And he's like, every time I have to be like, no. Finish the sentence. I'm the pedophile in a movie.
Right. And you're like, no. You were the pedophile in that documentary.
No.
Allie, you got anything?
I think that the scene where it's like the intro to the pageant where they have to dress up as an American monument that makes them proud to be an American is one of the funniest scenes basically ever put on camera. That is like so, even if you have no desire to watch the movie, but you were like, what is the movie? Can you give me a sense? If you could just watch that like 90-second stretch, you will be very happy. It's just so funny.
Perfect like character choices, you know, everything from like the phallic Washington Monument to
baby. Yeah. Her boyfriend yelling from the back.
And she knows it, and she like kind of like does like that fun little thing where she like kind of like licks her top teeth, but like it's not even like sexy. It's just kind of like ha 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 yeah. It's great. It's so good. And then of course it has like that perfect line where the girl has a giant ball of yarn on her head and it falls off, and she goes, "I think I misunderstood the assignment."
Which is funny because that's now a meme in and of itself.
Oh, it's so good.
Right. Incredible. Yeah.
I feel like the only other thing I wanted to mention, I just love when Kirstie Alley is giving the interview, but then a wrestler dude walks up.
Oh my God.
And she's just distracted by this teen dude's junk. There's something just so weird about that.
It kind of shows that like there's not just one pedophile in this town. This is a town where pedophilia is just one ingredient. It's just part of the mix.
I think so. I mean, I think it's also like an obsession on youth, and she still feels like she's in high school.
Yeah, she still thinks she's got it. She thinks she's like hot stuff. And so she's still just like ogling to like 17-year-old boys because like in her mind, she is still also 17. She even makes that comment in the pageant where she's like, and this is the costume I wore. I can still fit in it if you can believe. And it's like, oh my God, it's so sad.
And then Allison says, she had a fat ass then, she's got a fat ass now.
It's such a good line.
And then the only other one, I just noticed this after Becky and Amber get in a fight in the back room, she's being dragged away by the like second in command or whatever behind Kirstie Alley. And she's like, I hate her. And she goes, I know, we all do. And I just, just that subtle little, like we get it. Nothing makes sense. It's all awful.
Yeah, everybody hates them.
Okay, cool. Great. Titles. I'm going to start with, these are alternate titles for the movies that we think would work just as well. I had fucking beauty queens blowing chunks.
Ooh.
Which is what is said by the camera guy at the end. They're like, we're live with a man with the camera crew who is here at the scene. And he's just like, fucking beauty queens blowing chunks. Yeah.
I will say that title sounds like it'd be the title of a DVD that a bodega near my campus in college sold.
Oh, good. Yeah.
It's not a dark comedy.
It's not. Hey, it's not a dark comedy. I would love the idea, though, of walking into like a back room like a place that has like the beaded curtain, and you walk in and you're like, are any of these dark comedies? I'm looking for a dark comedy.
We don't have
something like irreverent.
We don't have a back room in our video store, if you remember.
Nice.
She made a point that that's only for something with no bra wear and hairy-legged livers.
That's right. What a good line.
In AK Minneapolis, St. Paul. Anyway, what do you got, Jesse?
Okay, so I'd go with either I think I misunderstood the assignment.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Or leaning into horror, American Die?
I hate you.
What is that even?
With an interrobang. It's not just
American Pie. Okay. I was like, I don't even get it. I don't understand. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. American Die? Stupid.
Okay, so that's an early front runner.
Yeah, we got, dude, where's my pageant?
Is that what you're saying?
I mean, look, if Jesse can get away with that, I can get away with that.
Roasting me.
Okay. Is that it? Is that your final answer?
I think my final answer is no, I swear. It was made in 1999 and parts of it aren't going to look good, but other parts of it are going to look great.
That is long.
With the Wisconsin accent and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. We'll just say made in 1999.
Made in 1999. Exactly. It's great though.
Made in 1999. It's fine.
I hope people can find this if they want to watch it. They've like continuously made it such a difficult thing to find and share with people.
Yeah, you can get it illegally. I downloaded the DVD. If you email me, I'll send it to you.
Text Jordan. His number is.
But yeah. Anyway, Allie, what are we watching next week?
Okay, I am going to subject you to a film that is incredible in its scope, its execution, its production, and its casting. You will be stunned for all the wrong reasons. We are going to be watching From Justin to Kelly, the vehicle created for Justin Guarini and Kelly Clarkson, just in the wake of their first season of American Idol. Yes, it is a musical.
Wow.
It's called From Justin to Kelly?
From Justin to Kelly.
Okay.
Is that a colloquialism I'm supposed to know?
Yeah,
it's just From Justin to Kelly. It's not a pun or anything.
From Justin to Kelly. Those are also what the letters are right next to each other, so it implies there's a span of some sort, but there's not.
Yeah, you don't understand the subtlety of the title until you watch the full film.
Guess you're right.
I'm not going to call it a movie. I'm going to call it a film to really match its status.
I'm excited to ingest that and learn.
Yeah, you can find it on the Criterion Collection. They got new cover art made for it when it got accepted into the Criterion Collection.
Ooh, beautiful.
I think you will be speechless.
Ooh,
that's going to make for a bad podcast.
We'll give it time. We'll find our voice again. All right, where can we find you guys?
You can find me on Twitter at Eisemann. Eisemann.
Wonderful.
Great. You can also find me on Twitter at Eisemann. I'm just kidding. At
it's a joint account.
Miss Alice Nutting. That's MSALICENUTTING. Also, if you live in and or around New York City, I perform musical improv pretty regularly with a team called Rumpelteaser. They're very fun. The music will be better than what is in From Justin to Kelly. I promise that.
Spoiler
alert. We're making it up, but it's probably better still.
Yeah. Great. And you can find me on Twitter at _J_breeding and on the Cracked YouTube channel, which is theoretically where you're watching this. And I have a thing to say, which is please subscribe to Cracked Movie Club on YouTube. Also, we're on Apple and Spotify and wherever we do podcasts. And exciting news, we have a newsletter where, all the Cracked stuff about movies is on it. I'm writing original essays about some of the movies that we're doing. And you can yell at us through the newsletter about the things that we missed, the things that we didn't cover. Mm-hmm. And you could be featured in the newsletter, and then I will probably respond and tell you you're wrong. So if you go to crack.com/movie club, you can find that.
You can find that.
That's
you can
it.
also just yell at Jesse. You don't have to have a reason.
Yeah.
You should, yeah.
At Eisemann.
Yeah, at Eisemann. And again, I will also comment with my phone number on the YouTube.
Yeah,
video.
and I'll reply with Jordan's.
Yeah, excellent. All right. See y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.